I would like to get into a little bit of Cam conversation, if you don't mind. Can we get into Cam a little bit? Cam is on a book tour. She's on a book tour. Well, maybe not a book tour. I would say more or less a book promotional run. Cam is on a promotional run for her book called 107 Days. I don't personally plan to pick it up and read it. She probably didn't really write it based off of what I've seen on the campaign trail. You can't convince me that she can write a book at all. So either it was OpenAI, ChatGPT, Gemini, some writer, something like that. But she basically has come out with a book that details her 107 days running for president of the United States of America. That's not the interesting part, right? The interesting part that we want to have a conversation about is the people that she's throwing under the bus. Now, do I think that Kamala Harris is going to get to the back? Absolutely. And I'm no hater. Let's be clear. I'm no hater. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican. I don't care if you like girls, if you like boys. I don't care what you like. I don't care what you do. I don't care what your political affiliations are. I'm no hater. I am a fan of bag chasers. And as a matter of fact, I can separate how I feel about you politically from your ability to be able to finesse a check, you know? And so because I'm no hater, I am very much interested in what she's doing in order to secure this bag, meaning that she probably got that advance. That publisher was like, hey, I got these couple $1 million for you, Kamala. She said, okay. Me and Dougie, we okay with that. And so the book publisher was like, so listen, we don't want to hear any more of your boring collard greens in the bathtub stories or fake stories about how your mother was really into the middle class and you had a aunt that was a business owner and she was living up under you guys, and so you're familiar with the business class. They don't want to hear that nonsense. They want to know who you gonna throw under the bus so that they can forward an excerpt over to all of the different people that's gonna read it. Then they want all of the politicians to react to it, and then they want you to torpedo your potential next career and possibly running for president of the United States of America by releasing his book. And so she did what she was being paid to do, because they all paid actors. She did what she was being paid to do. Get your bag, baby girl. I'm not tripping about it. But we're going to spend a little bit of time, just a little bit of time, talking about the repercussions and who she decided to throw under the bus. And the first person is no other than her former boss, former President Joe Biden.
Madam Vice President, I have to ask you about the part of your book that has people most upset thus far, which is some of your writing about the decision around the president abandoning his reelection campaign, the timing there and how it was handled. You say in part, page 46, it's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Whose decision should that have been? How should that decision have been made?
So when I write this, it's because I realize that I have and had a certain responsibility that I should have followed through on. Which is, and so when I talk about the recklessness, as much as anything, I'm talking about myself. There was so much, as we know, at stake. And
let me just pause this and say this here. Every time I hear Kamala Harris speaks, I'm reminded why she lost the presidential election. Lots of pauses. I don't know if she's studying the Obama playbook on how to talk as slow as possible. Lots of pauses. Not a lot of substance, but hopefully we get something out of this. All right.
As I write, the where my head was at the time is that it would come off as being completely self-serving.
If you said to President Biden that you did not think he should run again.
Yeah, or even that he should question whether it's a good idea. But I think that, one of the reasons I wrote this book, Rachel, is there are actually a number of reasons. One is that it is unprecedented. Right, to your point of what you said in your opening, we had a president of the United States running for re-election, 3.5 months from the election, decides not to run. The sitting vice president enters the race against a former president of the United States who's been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. And it ended up being the closest presidential election in the 21st century.
Now, remember that last segment where we was talking about Jimmy Kimmel Live and a person that was sitting at the anchor's desk on CNN and he was saying some crazy stuff? Y'all all should give yourselves a round of applause. Because ain't no way in hell you gonna never convince me that this was the closest presidential election in the 21st century. What? By what metric? When? This was anything but this was a landslide like we ain't never seen before. What? Okay, wait a minute. Now, I may be a C student, and I may not necessarily be the sharpest knife in a tool shed, but I'm pretty sure that he won every single swing state, and he won the popular vote. Now, my memory might be a little bit hazy because I got a lot going on and it was 2024 November, but I remember that time because we was running up a crazy bag. And I was in the middle of one of my biggest growth spurts and she was getting washed and we predicted it. And I said, listen, we had a lot of debates and every Monday night and on after hours, we were having conversations. I said, listen, man, she's going to get destroyed. It's not even going to be close. Nobody can help her. Not black women, not black men, not the fraternities, not the sororities, not the boule, not nobody. Nobody can help her win this election. She's going to get destroyed. And that she did. Now, I could be off because maybe she's saying something that I'm not familiar with, but she said that this was the closest election. When? Who? What? When? Where? Why? Now? Let's continue.
And there was so much about those 107 days that, for me, and this is really a behind-the-scenes look at those 107 days, was about seeing people who seemingly had nothing in common coming together by the thousands with a level of optimism and, dare I say, joy about the possibilities for America. And I hope to remind people about that light that people brought to it and to remind people that that light is still there. And we can't let that be extinguished by an election or the individual who's in the office right now. Because to the point of all those folks who got out and protest about the Kimmel suspension.
And about everything else that people have protested.
Right. In the variety of ways, whether it be going to a protest or being, with their pocketbook or getting engaged in local and state and federal elections, they'll make a difference. And they've made a difference.
So let me tell you the translation of what I just heard here before we go over to Pete Buttigieg. The translation of what I seen here is she has thrown her former boss under the bus. This is why I don't trust women. This is why I don't trust women. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I don't. Because he made her the DEI hire and pick. And so the first thing that they do when they lose, in order to continue to profit off of your loss, they throw you under the bus. No loyalty, not an ounce of loyalty at all. Not a smidget of loyalty. Can't believe it. You disloyal son of a doop, 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 doop. Disloyal. Now, I don't care for Biden. And we all know that we made the right decision because Biden is outside eating ice cream from the bottom up. He eating the cone first, and then he eating the ice cream and letting it melt all over his chest like a little baby. Biden at this point don't know his left from his right, and we not even sure that he's even still alive. We don't know what Biden is doing right now. Hopefully he's not completely taken over by cancer, because I don't wish that on anybody. But Biden is over there just fumbling around on some beach somewhere by himself. Imagine if we'd had Biden inside of office right now. Even worse, imagine we had Kamala Harris. We don't even know who was controlling it. If you're trying to sell me on the idea that it was Biden and Jill Harris alone's decision to make him run for president of the United States of America, I will tell you that you are a bold-faced lie. And the decision is never just based off of one singular person's, even if you are the president of the United States of America, unless you may be Trump, one singular person's decision. They all had a family meeting. Even Laura Trump came in on an interview, and she said, listen, he sat us down and he asked us all what it is that we look at, what we think about him running for president. Like, it's always a consideration of other people's opinions as to whether or not you are going to run and do the things that you're going to do, because you affect everybody else. There's no way that you're going to convince me that Biden was even in his right mind to make that decision himself. He shouldn't have been president the first time. He was too old. That's why he was getting lost inside of the Amazon, and they was taking pictures without him. And we was joking the whole time as a Secret Service to continue to try to keep him on track to get on the plane. But that's not all, folks. She also talked about Pete. Yep, she talked about Pete. And she said that Pete was just a little too gay to be the vice president of the United States of America. At least that's what my interpretation of it was.
Let me ask you a politics question. I mentioned in the intro tonight that you say in the book really bluntly that your personal first choice for your running mate would have been Pete Buttigieg, and you praise him effusively. You say he would have been an ideal partner if I were a straight man. And you say effectively that demographically it was too much to ask of the American people, to ask them to elect you with him as your running mate. I wonder if his reaction to that, since this part of the book has come out, if you've had any reflection on that, or I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump, who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter how, I've been an advocate and an ally of the LGBT community my entire life. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but
that
we had such a short period of time, and the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant. And I think America is and would be ready for that.
But they just wasn't. Listen, politicians speak is so funny to me. Politicians speak is so funny to me because it's like they talk out of both sides of their mouth. And I think America is and was ready for that. They just wasn't ready for that. Even either America is or it's not. Which one is it? So basically, she didn't want to play the double diversity, equity, and inclusion minority card. She didn't want to hit all cylinders. She said, you know what? I don't want to go with a sassy man, a woman that won't even admit that she's black until she just joined Rachel Maddow's show, or she had to go and petition the black community for a vote, that also identifies as Asian. And then at the same time, we don't want there to be 3 men on stage and 1 woman, because it's going to be her husband, and him and his husband on stage. And she said, listen, she says, America can't handle that much femininity on a stage. That's my interpretation of it. I'm sticking with it. You heard it for yourself. You can judge for yourself. You can come up with your own opinion. My interpretation of what she said is that America can't handle that much sass on the stage at one point. They not ready to see 2 men kiss at the Democratic National Convention. They not ready to see that. They not ready to see it. Listen, you may think that we've grown, but we not. I know I'm not ready to see that. Not on the national stage. 2 husbands up there on the national stage. God, I'm not ready for that. Personally, I think you should be able to do whatever it is that you want to do inside of your household. But I'm personally, I'm not ready for all of that femininity on the stage. I'm just not. At all. Whatsoever. I remember a time in the United States of America where you had to be married in a traditional family to be considered for president of the United States of America. Let me say that again. I remember a time where you had to have a wife and a husband and maybe 2 kids, or at least 1, or working on 1. And then you had to go up there and wave. Because America had to see themselves in you. So if you're telling me that that's what we are ready for, then you telling me that we just became a bunch of weirdos inside of this country. Now, we pushed it when we got Barack Obama in there. Hey, Michelle. Hey, did you know I could become president? Yeah, it's like, Craig, pick it up, Craig. We pushed it. It's all of the black people, all of the stars aligned. We was poor in America. The black people was still racist as ever, and so they was going to vote for it, and the white people was looking for any kind of change from George W. Only thing George W. was good at was ducking shoes. That's it. That's the only thing that he was good at. And so George W. was so bad, Republican George W. the second, not W, W. George W. was so bad that he just basically handed Obama a win on a silver platter. And so we had all the stars align. White people was like, his name is Barack Hussein Obama, but we gonna go with him anyway because everybody poor, everybody broke, everybody getting their homes foreclosed on. We getting laid off on the auto industry. We can't feed our family. Some gotta give. Something gotta give. You can't keep selling me war in Iraq and Saddam Hussein and the oil. You gonna have to figure out something. So they gave us Obama. Hey, hope. It's a message of hope. I believe in healthcare for all. And being from the south side of Chicago, married my, hey Michelle, married my college sweetheart. And I'll tell you, she's smarter than me. I didn't have a chance. I figured it out, though. I figured it out. And all the ladies said, "Oh my God, he's so cool. Look at him walking in his mom jeans. Oh, he's America's president. He is the personification of this country unifying together." It's a message of hope. Hope from a father that has us believing in change. Because we can't keep going down this path. We have to change our ways. And the only way we can do that is get over our racial bias, start focusing on what's best for America. By the time he got out of office, he was like, "We love." When he first got in office, he said, marriage was supposed to be between a man and a woman. There's no law that can change that. There's no law on the books. It's not even something that you guys should be concerned with. The Republicans said, "Hey, no, man, he going to bring in his sassy agenda." Stop. The laws on the book says that marriage is between a husband and a wife. Look at me and Michelle. By the time he got out of office, he was like, "We need to put these trans books in children's schools." We need gay mentors for your sons. They need gay mentors. Anyways, the point is that she didn't go with Pete because she didn't think that America was ready for two men kissing on the stage at the Democratic National Convention. The reality is this. We still ain't ready for none of that. So, A, she was right, but B, then she went with Tim Walz. Tampon Tim. She went with the guy with stolen valor that decided to put tampons inside of women's bathrooms or men's bathrooms. So she might as well have went with Pete, in my personal opinion.
But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks to go, and maybe I was being too cautious. I'll let our friends, we should all talk about that. Maybe I was. But that's the decision I made. And I, as with everything else in the book, I'm being very candid about that.
Yeah.
With a great deal of sadness about also the fact that it might have been a risk.
Will you consider running in 2028?
That's not my focus right now.
I know
it's not my focus at all.
I know
it really isn't.
I'm just going to.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're not considering it now, but are you saying, when you said you're not going to run for governor of California?
Correct.
Were you saying you are never going to run for anything ever again, or were you just saying I'm not going to run for that office right now?
That was the decision before me, and I made the decision not to run for governor of California. By the way, there are a lot of great candidates running, and I love my state, and we want somebody to definitely follow in the footsteps of Gavin in terms of standing up and understanding the power that California has to stand up to what we're saying in D.C.
Why don't they ever just answer the question, bro? Hey, I'm not sure if that's what I want to do right now, so what I decided to do is write a book so I can run up a bag. In the meantime, so I can determine whether or not I want to run for president of the United States of America in 2028. I just don't want it off the table. I'm not really feeling it, but I don't want it off the table yet. They always word salad in their way through the conversation.